Okay.
So I was telling the story about how the lady said, I want you to know that my sister died 3 months ago, and since then I have been sad until you've written this here in my language. First is my name, and then the phrase, why are you still sad? And my sister told me to not be sad, and you've written that in my language, and this tells me that somebody in spirit, my sister in spirit, is happier, is better, is feels okay. And I cried because I could feel the sister releasing. Like finally I was able to tell my sister, who's still living, to not be sad. And that told me that people are still aware, even though they don't have bodies anymore, and that they're watching what we're doing, and they want us to feel better about what we're doing. Like we come here with a plan, right? We're just not here by accident.
How are you feeling?
We come here with a plan to achieve, or to help others achieve. Either teach people how to be, or have people teach us how not to be, right? It's like the Hitlers teach us how not to be, and where our passions are, and where they should be, and what's stupid, and what not to happen again, right? But it took that as a wake-up call. So there are some people who come here as martyrs that teach other people how to be and how not to be. Yeah. So it's I've had several such experiences where, well, some 30 or 50, where people have come through spiritually and communicated with a loved one that was there sitting with me. So I wanted to use the NuCompanion as sort of like a conduit that allows people who don't have that kind of ability to sort of like be connected also. So I used that gut feel that I got with the raising of the Holy Ghost and the Spirit and the speaking of the tongues or whatever, that feel, that little like string pluck on a guitar vibration, I would get when I set a phrase on the NuCompanion in the right spot, right frequency, right? And sometimes I would put it on a frequency that would occur that would not be appropriate, and then I would end up relocating it to like another frequency or sequence of frequencies to be played. Each one of these takes me about a week, sometimes a month, to get it programmed properly. So that it's programmed properly, so that it just does not, just be affected by light bulbs being on, but it's like absolutely sensitive to the environment, specifically in the atmosphere.
So, are you able to like sense presence, like there's someone standing in the doorway? Is that the thing you have, or just they just kind of use you as like a phone booth?
I would say that I use, like, if there is someone standing in the doorway, I would get the feeling like I could see myself sitting here from standing in the doorway. Like if I were standing in the doorway and sitting here at the same time, I could see myself sitting here. And then whatever I'm thinking about as I'm seeing myself sitting here would be what the person who's in spirit would be thinking about.
Okay, so you kind of visualize as whatever you feel.
Yes.
What they're seeing. That makes sense. Do you ever sense anything walking through the old jail here?
I do.
Like what?
Some of the investigations that have happened here, they have gotten stuff that on camera, but when, like, I can't see things manifest, but I can see things with what I call the mind media player up here, that place that, we get those songs stuck in our head that we can't get rid of, or that we're thinking about somebody or something. That's where I get the interpretations of, like, either there's somebody here or something. Now I also get physical experiences to where if there's a ghost that's around me, I'll feel them come up through the floor first. Because that's where most of them are, because they don't like to be bumped into by us, because we're like floating thunder clouds. right? And that if they run into us the wrong way, that we would end up discharging a kind of power that would really affect them, but we wouldn't notice it whatsoever, right? Where you just get like a deja vu, can be a discharge of a frequency.
So kind of like I had earlier.
Yeah, it's like a lightning strike or something. Then there are other times to where it can be like a kid or a cat that's trying to sit in your lap, right? To where they just like get up and that you can feel an actual physical weight sitting on your lap. Like I have, like in the last place that I used to live in, I had like ghost cats that would walk around on the bed, and I would reach down to see if the cat would like want to come up and be petted, and there was like no cat there. Just things like that. So I guess we can have ghost cats and dogs and cows and sheep and horses and people. Dinosaurs probably even as ghosts.
Well, that'd be something.
Uh,
Have you ever physically seen anything, like by chance, or when you're, like if you meditate or whatever it is you do, like, have you ever physically seen anything, or is anything like
I
maybe
have
stuff
not.
falls off the walls and across the
That
room?
is fun. I love that.
I have, like in my bathroom at home, I have one of those extender rods that's supposed to go across the shower. I have it going across from the wall by the door to where the shower is, so I can hang towels that way, so it can like drape across the mirror if I want to, but it's at the edge of the counter, right? So that way it's like right here, if I need to dry my hands off instead of like reaching all the way over to the wall. There are sometimes when I'm sitting and they're doing my business that the entire pole will come down like that.
And did you ever feel anything, or just slipped through the screw?
It would just slip perfectly. It wouldn't, one side wouldn't come down, like there's, the towel is here and there's no weight over here. If anything, it should shift like that. No, it comes down perfectly, and it's done it some 100 times since I've been living there for like 3 years. It's almost like, hey, how you doing? It's almost like if it is like a little kid or a little gremlin or something that they try to get up there and do pull-ups or something, and instead pull the whole thing down.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Earlier we were upstairs, and I was telling you a story about how a few months ago me and you had talked, and you said I should confront whatever it is that I think is following me. And ever since then, it's kind of been over my shoulder. Now I don't feel it now, but earlier I was telling you the story, and you said you could feel it, or you were picking up on
Yes.
it. What were you feeling then?
Have you ever been walking through a field of like stinging weeds? They're called nettles.
Yeah, little black pricks on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that, but not as intense. Almost just like little prickly, like briars, right? But subdued points on the ends of them.
What do you think that is?
I think it's like, if it is like a spirit, I think that it has such a cloud, gaseous surface that I think that all the little elements that it uses a sense with is trying to, realize me. Like if you look at our hair standing on end, you know how they talk about that?
Yeah,
I think that ghosts have the same thing, and that they use the ends of their hair to sense our persons. They collect data, whatever the data is.
Getting happier now.
I agree.
What are your thoughts on death? Like there's ghosts and jinn and shadow people and stuff like that, and then there's heaven. Like what are your thoughts on like the afterlife in general? Like the ghosts just stick around just for fun, or what are your thoughts?
I feel that heaven, a really good example is that we are swimming around in an ocean, right? Like look at someone who's deep sea diving, and that it might be a mile down to the bottom, might be a mile up to the top, and might be 10,000 miles this way and that way, right? I feel that's where we are as physical people in wetsuits, and that we are floating along. And then once we pass on, we shed that wetsuit and join the rest of the aquarium. So I think that's really what heaven is, and that we go out of this dimension to where we're able to stand and realize physical things, to where we go into that gaseous dimension and do and realize how we would realize there. So I feel like that we're here to collect up a bunch of experiences that can't be had any other way but in the physical element. Then once we collect all that up, we grab it and take it with us. My grandmother used to say when I was a kid that memories are like coins that you put in the purse that is in your heart, and it will be that purse that you will take with you when you pass away, and everything else gets left behind. And I still agree with that.
It's kind of peaceful. What do you think are ghosts then? Do you think that's like a scar in time or a ripple in time? Or
First, I think that the word ghost is a derogatory term, just like the N word, right? Because you're labeling something as inferior.
What would you prefer to call them then?
I don't know, I would say spirits, right? Or I've decided to come up with the word ambient, where it be an ambient, like intelligence, like a gaseous consciousness called ambient. So it's like people who are here and aware of us would be an ambient, just like, you know, an alien or a human, ambient, right? So ambient person, right? So as an ambience, I think that they watch us. Some of them might feed on us, like there are some people who are afflicted and attacked by the spirits that are in their house, and I think those are what are called elemental spirits, and these are the spirits that feed on energy.
Those are what you called like boogeymen.
Yeah,
right?
boogeymen, gremlins, incubuses, succubuses, and really what it is, it's just like an angry person who's trying to find a way to communicate. They don't know how to communicate, so they lash out. Nobody loves me, so I'm going to go and shoot up a nightclub so I can finally get the attention that I need to get, right? And what happened to that guy that shot up that Pulse nightclub? Took some 50 people with him and also died too. So he transitioned, right? Finally got the recognition that he needed and ended his time here. So the thing is like we don't know how we're going to be rewarded by the events that we conduct here. All we can do is make the best of the situation based on our needs and goals. If you're, you know, if you're flawed based on someone's perspective or your own perspective, then you may find that your way of life is not appropriate and should end, right? So whether you commit suicide or go and do something that's suicidal or whatever, like, you know, death by cop is what they call it. But it's been my experience that people who commit suicide and it wasn't a part of their original plan before they came here to live in the physical, will likely end up coming back and living the same life again, even to the point to where you felt suicidal again. The thing is that you have to get past that time, right? So if you come back and live that same kind of life again, if you can tough through that moment to where you feel suicidal and see that the sun did come back up again, you'd be better off, and then you graduate.
so that's the point of life, to learn some kind of lesson that you choose to come back and try and
Correct.
do. So the guy who shot at Pulse, he would still get killed. You still
It is
believe-
good to see you.
Yeah. Do you believe that he still got released into that ocean you're talking about?
I do.
Everywhere else? So there's not a heaven and a hell, there's just our wetsuits and everywhere else?
Yeah. When my dad passed away, I saw his aura pass.
Like as he died?
Yes. I saw it come up out of his body and fly out the window.
What color was it?
It was like a jellyfish,
How big was it?
about the size of an orange.
Oh, okay. Where did it come from? Like in his body, like the heart, head?
It more appeared like 3 feet over his body, and then went up and went out.
Were you the one that saw that?
I was the one that saw it.
I know a lot of people who work in nursing homes and stuff like that, they'll open windows because they either believe it or they've seen so much that I guess they see the Lord too. But that's, I don't know, I've always been afraid and wanted to see something at the same time?
Well, when I've seen orbs on video, I've seen them prefer to fly through glass than a wall.
What do you think that is?
I think it has to do with, like, a glass is, like, it's open, it has pores, right? Like,
Really thick?
yeah, they say something about glass isn't solid or something like theirs, right? So I guess if you looked at an orb, it could turn itself into like 1,000 BBs and pass through all the holes in the glass and then come back together again and go on.
Kind of like going through a filter.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas going through a wood or a wall, you got sheetrock, wood, insulation, wood, sheetrock, paint.
Right.
So it's just more
I,
hassle than it's worth.
a house that I used to live in Murfreesboro, Illinois, I felt like there was a ghost in the basement, and that I videotaped a ghost dancing around, or an orb, I beg your pardon, an orb floating around this one copper pipe. Well, I got a K2, which is one of those devices that they use for measuring if there's magnetic fields coming out of walls because the wire isn't grounded properly. I put the K2 sensor up there and it showed that there's a lot of magnetic fields that was coming off of that, and that copper pipe was the grounding pipe for the electrical system in the house. So this orb was dancing around this copper pipe, enjoying the energy that the copper pipe.
It is good to see you.
So it's just like a little buffet for
Sure.
lifeline. You said that you had a spirit guide named
Stacy.
Stacy.
Yeah.
When was the first time that happened? Or how did that come to be?
I started back when, like, there was a time in my corporate life, before I got into the spiritual situation, where I got into about 5 car accidents, and my insurance guy says, I'm going to drop you if you have another, and I said, well, they're all hitting me, it's not me hitting them. He's like, well, you have to be doing something wrong, and that's like my wake-up call. It's like I need to do something, so I started meditating and walking more. Well, as I started dreaming, these dreams, there would be a blonde woman who would be just about 5 years younger than me, that would be in almost every dream, but she'd be like driving the boat, driving the car, driving the airplane, or, on the battlefield with me carrying an M16 or something, always the same blonde woman. And there was one time where I saw her in a dream where she was on the beach wearing a polka dot bikini, and was holding a football, and it was like one of those telescope pictures. I don't know if you've ever seen those, where you go to the beach and they take pictures of you in different kinds of scenes, and then you just get those little long tube things that you can hold up to the light and see something, from the past.
Yeah, like Six Flags has just a little bit thing you have to have a light to see.
Yeah. I was thinking, it's like, you're showing me that you're present, almost like a wife or something, the same kind of thing. But I didn't know it was a spirit guide until I started talking to other people, and they explained that she was this to me. So I said, well, I would like to know what your name is. And then I went through, while I was, awake, but it just awakened after a very intense dream with her being in it. I'm like, well, what is your name? And then I was first hearing racy, like very racy, chase scenes. So it's like Lacey, Macy, and Stacy, and I got like a kind of clapping kind of feeling. I'm like, okay, it's Stacy or something. So she sort of like shows up in my dreams to just sort of like help me through troublesome dreams. So I don't have nightmares anymore. I know them all really as like things that are training me, how to be stronger about something.
Has she ever talked to you? Or is the clapping the one you've gotten out of her?
That's a very good question. I don't think that she has ever talked. Now, my ex-girlfriend started dreaming about her also, and that one time in her dream, she was about to be ran over by someone in a black Cadillac, and then the door opened, and this woman with a blonde head sticks her head out the passenger side and said, "Get in." And Leslie got into the car, and they drove off, and then she woke up. And that's the only one time that I can think of that she has talked. Most of it is where she just comes in as a rescue, and that's very interesting. I just have never thought about her not talking. I guess we communicate through our dream language. Like, I look at her and I know what she's saying without her having to move her lips. Just like I've tried to read signs that I walk up to when I'm dreaming, and the letters are always squiggly, like worms that are fighting each other or something. They just don't turn into letters or characters that I understand. But I know that it says, Yellowstone National Park or something. Instead of it just being worms fighting on the thing, it's always like constantly changing or something. And I think that's why the Egyptians used hieroglyphics to write down all of their stuff, because you can see images in dreams. You can see a hieroglyphic, like, like the Ankh, which is the loop with the cross, right? That all the Egyptian, pharaohs would have been walking around with in their hands. But the Ankh is the symbol for life, and that you can see that in a dream, but you can't see the word A-U-N-K in a dream, or on a page, or on a sign or something. So I think that's why the Egyptians used hieroglyphics, so that you can get information in dreams from whatever source, God, Buddha,
It is good
Allah,
to see you.
Smokey the Bear, whoever you follow, can pass to you the information that you need to help you achieve the things that you have set out to do. So she has never talked to me, but we have that kind of dream language that I know what she's trying to say.
Do you ever sense her when you're awake, or is it only when you're asleep?
I think about her when I am awake, like what would she do, or maybe I'll think about what she would do, and I would think of a dream that I had that might be related to the situation that I'm in. So it might be that I get information from her that way.
There's something else I was gonna say. So drawing a blank also, not a lot.
That's because you got your mind and media player wide open now, and that you're just being very receptive.
I don't know, something's happened, like, I'm drawing a blank, I feel like I might have a headache or something, and my eyes just are heavy.
That's because you're in an open channel right now. Like when I used to sit with my quote unquote masters and teachers, that I would just become so heavy. Just like I would need to sleep for like a week or something, and then once I digested all the information that I just absorbed, that would just be like lighter than air sometimes. So we were talking about Stacy and how I got into the 5 car accidents and how I started studying spiritual stuff and spirit communications and different symbols, sign languages, that kind of thing. So I think I'm getting away from doing spirit consultations and helping people understand the sign language that's coming into their life and how they can interpret it, because I think the NuCompanion is my next stage to where I can set this thing up to get people to start evolving their lives and turning their dreams into achievements.
Is there any, like, if you ever come across other psychics, often with conventions like that, are you able to pick out like a phony, like you just tell someone's just full of shit? Does that happen a lot, like more often than not?
I like to go into those and sit as if I've never sat with anyone before like that, and be a total novice, right? Like I would walk in with a friend and have them play the role as like a girlfriend who's brought me to have my fortune told or something. And then they would start talking to me. It's like, oh, you gotta have this and then have that. And then I would ask them questions that only someone who's as informed as I am would know. And then I could see whether they're genuine or not. And then they would say, oh, are you a consultant person too? I'm like, yeah. But I was wondering if you could just help me. I prefer to go to novice advisors instead of advanced, because the advanced advisors have egos that they know all, see all, and be all kind of thing. And I would rather go to someone who's only been studying it for like 2 or 3 years, because they are humble they appreciate, they respect, and that they don't have any badges yet, right? Like like the Olympians, it's like a great javelin thrower, or the cross-country runner, or whatever. This is someone
It
who's
is good to see you.
just starting out.
What's a telltale sign for you that someone is either their head's enlarged or just flat out in for money? Like, is there one like trait that they'll share?
One where they'll say,
Close their eyes, something like that.
they point to me. It's like you, blah, blah, blah this, and you, blah, blah, blah that. It should be like, it could be, you could see, right? Instead of putting it on me that this is what I am, right? Like a lot of the people say, it's like, oh, you have a curse on you.
So if someone was to like, let's say they sensed something about me, and they close their eyes, and they open their eyes and say, you're about to change.
That could be real.
That could be real?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what do you think about like I don't know a whole lot about like the darker side of the paranormal. What do you think about like jinn and demons and?
I think that they're there.
Yeah. What's the difference between a real deal and Hollywood?
What was haunting?
You know, like demons and all that stuff. Like I know Hollywood, like they have to spice it up a little bit to make it look good and sell. But how much of that would be real? Like, have you seen the new Conjuring movie?
No.
Have you seen the original Conjuring?
No. Should I?
Oh, they're pretty entertaining.
Well, in the second Conjuring, it's about the Enfield haunting in England back in the 70s.
Okay.
Done by Ed and Lorraine, I forget the last name, Warren. But anyway, they go to this house and they don't quite know how it started, because I looked it up the other day, they don't know how it started. I'm assuming it was from a Ouija board. And they said it was a demon named,
I don't remember.
Something.
yeah, there's a demon in the house. It looked like a nun. And it possessed a toy that was a running man with an umbrella, like in a wind-up box.
Okay.
So between the nun and this toy, they would pretty much just menace the family. And then the girl would always wake up in a different room, so she started tying herself to the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one day she woke up, and then she was sucked into this second story bedroom that they've had chained off. That's where the most activity is. And she was screaming, and I think tried to choke her out in the drapes. And they had to like pretty much bust the door down to get into it.
There are many people here.
But what are your thoughts on like that's baloney, or it's possible that someone could be sucked up through the second story floor?
Well, essentially she appeared in a room that was locked, but she couldn't get out into.
Right. Yeah. The door was chained.
Yeah.
She got in.
Well, people can float. I've heard people that I've trusted their stories that they said that they have witnessed people floating in the air. So I would say you can't dismiss that as a likelihood. I would say take it with a grain of salt. But I would say take part of it as real, and then some of it might be not so real, like they embellish things. It's possible that has happened, that she might have sleepwalked as she got into there. But there's also the stories about how the ETs that come from UFOs can transport humans from their beds to their spaceships. And then there's also reports about how the Bigfoots that run around that people are chasing and all of a sudden they end up disappearing, that they now speculate that the Bigfoot disappears into a different dimension. So it's possible that the entity is causing a dimensional window to open to where they are able to move that child from one point to another point. It's possible.
So you think Bigfoot might be a creature from a different plane that's next to a spiritual doorway?
Crosses. Yeah, it comes and goes from that. Like it could go from our time to prehistoric time and then back in our time again.
So you believe in Bigfoot?
I do.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's like an early version of human? Or do you think it's its own like great ape? Or do you think it's from a whole different thing that we can't see?
I think it's a human version, but not really early. I think it has evolved, but stayed where it is, just as a hunter-gatherer, and that's it.
Interesting. That makes sense.
Like, there are some animals that haven't evolved over, like alligator has been around like 10 million years or something, and that they haven't really evolved that much. They've stayed the same.
I read a report the other day that they believe that the orangutan has actually evolved into the Stone Age. Because there's in the wild having come in contact with humans using sticks and rocks and things like that. For fishing.
As I came to
I just think
Sure.
that's kind of neat. And I try to explain that to someone, they're like, they're in the Stone Age. I'm like, yeah, but now, like, they're in the Stone Age now. That's what we're, however many years.
Yeah. Just like I think people with autism and I think people with Down syndrome are not, handicapped. I think if you and I, or all of us here, were to come into a world or a planet that had nothing but Down syndrome people in it, then we would be the handicapped, and they would be.
I've also heard people with Down syndrome actually have a higher brainwave or activity.
Probably I haven't.
Or autism as well.
Yeah, autism and people with Asperger's have high index, extremely high index.
Do you want to go back upstairs to that room to see if we can? I really can't believe your thing stopped. Have you tried to do a video since then to see if it was just that one video or if it should have been in general?
I haven't tried anymore.
Most of them.